Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's September 30th, 2013, the day before the Obamacare deadline, and here's what we have coming up tonight.
Tonight on the InfoWars Nightly News, as the Obamacare maelstrom threatens to shut down government, Chinese creditors loom heavily over the New World Order horizon.
And the challenge is how to build a world order for the first time in history.
Plus, the Obamacare kitty, the big jackpot at the end of the rainbow for the insurance lobbyists. All that and more on the InfoWars Nightly News.
And as we begin tonight, we have news that the Senate has killed the House spending bill. Now, we'll talk about this more in depth and what it means for you and your family. But let's start with this article. If Republicans want to shut down Washington, they'll have to ask China's permission first. So let's break this down into chunks. First of all, the shutting down Washington part. They're saying if the Republicans like Ted Cruz and others don't want to raise the debt ceiling to just let the Obama administration spend as much money as they want to, this is going to cause a shutdown of the world as we know it. It's pretty much how they're playing up. This can be some big apocalyptic situation, but it's nowhere near that. Yes, it will cost spending cuts or forced spending cuts, not just on Obamacare, but across the board, things such as the military-industrial complex. But don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people saying that we need to stop paying our soldiers, which is one of the most ridiculous arguments that comes up every single time we have this debt ceiling situation. The Obama administration says, well, we may not be able to pay our soldiers. Well, how about you stop taking $7 million vacations? How about we start on that front? And moving on to China, let's see, why do we have to ask China for anything? Well, for one, China has a monopoly on rare earth materials. They also control all film production. They demand edits of films like Iron Man 3 and also Red Dawn. But don't confuse communist Chinese viewpoints with the viewpoints of the whole Chinese population. That'd be like saying the Obama administration represents the entire opinions of America, which he may be somewhat of a figurehead, but he doesn't represent all of our ideals. But let's get back to the point of the government shutdown. It wouldn't be the first time, and it definitely wouldn't be the last. We've seen government shutdowns here in the United States before.
That's right, Jakari. A government shutdown doesn't actually mean the government will shut down. It's a misnomer that creates this whole doomsday scenario when, in fact, key functions of the government are going to continue to operate. The military will be on duty, and their October 15th paychecks are going to be covered if there is a delay. The vast majority of Homeland Security, the Coast Guard, Border Patrol, etc. will stay on the job. Taxes are going to be collected. Social Security and Medicare will function as usual. Garbage will continue to be collected. Schools will stay open. Air traffic controllers are going to continue to monitor flights. Of course, the TSA is still going to be sticking their hands down your pants, and the Congress and Senate will continue to get paychecks because we can't cut off their funding. So all of the essential functions of the government are going to continue to operate. Everything the Constitution authorizes the government to do will continue to operate. Even things that the government is not authorized by the Constitution to do, they will continue to do those things. This is not a doomsday government shutdown. The only people that are really going to feel the effects of this will be non-essential federal employees who are going to get sent home with unpaid leave. So that is definitely terrible for those employees. I think it's about a third of government employees, but it is by no means a doomsday scenario for America. This could potentially be a good thing. While it's implemented, it'll help us actually balance our budget by trimming the fat across the board. But of course, who doesn't want the U.S. to balance its budget? Who wants to continue raising the debt ceiling and having us pay this insane amount of interest on our debt? The banks, the mega banks, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, those who have a vested interest in devaluing the dollar and destroying this country with astronomical debt. Back to you, Jakari.
But it's not just us here at InfoWars who are concerned about this. Dr. Ron Paul said Americans would benefit if Obamacare was defeated.
As I write this, it appears that the federal government is about to shut down because the House and Senate cannot agree on whether to add language defunding or delaying Obamacare to the continuing resolution. Despite all the hand-wringing heard in D.C., a short-term government shutdown, which doesn't actually shut down the government, will not cause the country to collapse. And the American people would benefit if Obamacare was defeated or even delayed. Obamacare saddles the American health system with new spending and mandates which will raise the price and lower the quality of health care. Denying funds to this program may give Congress time to replace this bill with free market reforms that put patients and physicians back in charge of health care. Defunding the bill before it becomes implemented can spare the American people from falling under the worst effects of this law.
And moving from something that's not a grand bargain for the American population, but is a grand bargain for the insurance companies, insurance giants that wrote and lobbied for health care law cash in. Now, these are people around 2010, so hey, this may be a good thing to take a look at. And you can see Blue Cross and Blue Shield there, also United Healthcare and AET. Now, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, it seems to have some dips and valleys, but if you take a look at United Healthcare, they seem to have pretty steady growth, as does AET. So everybody says, no, this affordable healthcare, this free healthcare. I'll just tell you briefly my insurance story. Before, tomorrow, October 1st, for me to get healthcare, I'm a single, healthy male with no dependents, but it would have cost me about $200 or so a month. That's not even including my deductible. So which is to say, if something happened to me today, it would cost me a minimum of $700 just to, get checked out by the physician. God forbid something like that happened. But it's affordable and it's free, and the trendies are out there saying that it's free, and they're going to give me a new house and a new car and all that good stuff. It didn't happen, and I'm just so surprised that people can't admit that they've got condom. Maybe they still believe the lie, because Obama gets up on TV with a suit and he reads out the teleprompter. So everything he's saying must be true, not taking a look at the hard facts that the premiums went up and all the deductibles went up. But nobody wants to talk about this, and people are going out of business. Dr. Jones, Alex's dad, is going to retire instead of continuing his practice because he doesn't want to have to put up with all this Obamacare nonsense. But we have this Obama website quietly deletes references to free health care. I thought it was free. Everything's free here in the United States of America, but apparently healthcare isn't. Where can I get free or low-cost care in my community? Asked the question. And the answer, if you can't afford any health plan, you can get free or low-cost health care and dental care at a nearby community health center. Now, after this was posted, it was screenshotted a little bit later, and it had said pretty much the same thing, except free was taken out of the equation. So you go from free to low cost, whatever low cost is. I mean, $200 a month isn't low to me, and that's before Obamacare. So you go from free and low to just low. Now you have low healthcare costs, which is completely ridiculous because nobody wants to pay $200 a month before they pay their deductibles. And that's me. I'm a 20-something healthy guy. I can't imagine what it's like for somebody with a family or somebody who has real physical health defects. Now, stay tuned because after this break, Alex is going to be back with Jerome Corsi. This is an interview from today's Day Show, The Alex Jones Show, and they're going to be talking about many things, including the assassination of JFK, but also this, quote, affordable health care. And also, Geraldo Rivera was a guest on the show today, so you don't want to miss that. But first, if you are a fan of this stuff and you want to get more information, you can go to the InfoWars shop and pick up Survival Shield. That's the new nascent iodine, a new line that we're launching on InfoWars Life. You can get it at the InfoWars store, and you can see it right there. You can buy them in bulk. You can buy them individually, and we're starting to take it here at the office. I just ordered some myself, so definitely check that out. And also, if you like to support other areas of this broadcast, you can go to prisonplanet.tv and get yourself a 15-day free trial. You can get the nightly news, the special reports, the movies, the rants, and when we launch Obama Deception 2, that will be on there as well, so you don't want to miss that. So stay tuned right after this break for Geraldo Rivera and also Dr. Jerome Corsi.
Live, this is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is October 1st, 2013, and here are your news updates for today. Let's go into the breaking news. Alright, let's see what we got. Well, I guess we're running real slow. I might have to just run all the videos because nothing's moving. Okay. Intense earthquake swarm offshore North Iceland, 1,000 quakes in 6 days. Elementa, new open access scientific journal for public good. Okay, nothing locked there. So they're gonna open their journals or something. Okay, here we go. The internet's running really slow because of this shutdown stuff. All I'm reporting is what's out there, so no one get... The truckers are going to be going on strike. I believe it's next weekend, whatever Columbus Day weekend is. And I'll show you one of the things that's playing on YouTube. Okay, let's go into the E&E News. TheEnergyNews.com. We're doing this early so the news gets out there for everybody. It's really running really slow. I might just stop and upload all this now, just so you get the rest of the news I have attached for you. Yeah, everything's like on the downlight slow. Let's try U.S. Canada. Let's see. New Yorker, anti-nuke street artist is the Japanese Banksy. WSJ, huge spike in dogs biting humans in Fukushima town. Thousands in Japan reporting to be suffering massive reoccurring nosebleeds. Strengthening storm headed near Fukushima. Okay, U.S. Canada. Nuclear experts in California, they're dumping huge amounts of Fukushima contamination in Pacific. We could have large numbers of cancer from eating fish. Newspaper, Japan Prime Minister put to shame. That was yesterday's. Alrighty then. And since the breaking news, let's see if it's going to move now. Earthquake magnitude 4.7, 57 miles southwest of Nodai Island, Fiji. Santa Monica Airport has reopened for takeoffs and landings after Sunday's plane crash. Let's see. Okay, I don't see anything. That's it for right now. So, since the internet's running so slow, there's Max back there, he wants to go out. So, it is 2 days down. 3 to go before the weekend. Stay tuned. And somewhere around the 11th, 12th, and 13th, the truckers are going on strike. They say it's due to the corruption of our government. It's not about gas, okay? And I'll play the video for you. It's not the whole video, but I'll play part of it for you. Also, I'm discussing RFID chips. Got some more information on that for you. And I'll see you again on the flip side. If my voice... See you tomorrow. Hopefully my voice will clear up. Alright, take care.
Yeah, let me just go over to what's going on in the news today. There's some scientists, and I haven't vetted their work, that's concerned about Unit 4 collapsing because they're damming up or stopping the flow of groundwater to the, and they're trying to get it to stop this, causing pooling of water and subsidence of the structure. Let me go back to an article really quickly that I wrote a while ago. You don't have to collapse Unit 4 to drain it dry. All you got to do is make it move a little bit so that the seal around the reactor cavity flange, which is called the refueling seal, breaks. That's the only thing holding up all the water in the spent fuel pool.
That sounds like bad news, right?
It's very bad news because you won't have access to anywhere in the plant at all. You couldn't get anywhere close to it. That's very bad.
TEPCO President Naomi Hirose apologized for the problems at a session of the Fukushima Prefectural Assembly. He said the firm will make wastewater decontamination its top priority. This is the second time that a TEPCO president has attended a session of the assembly since the nuclear accident at the plant in 2011.
TEPCO is dealing with the situation and starting to take measures with determination to deploy all of our management resources.
Hirose has also pledged that decommissioning the reactors at the plant will proceed without delay.
We have announced that we will put aside another $10 billion for this purpose for the next 10 years.
He stressed that he will ensure that no necessary measures are canceled or delayed just because the company wants to cut costs or streamline its business.
If you've gone crazy or something, I mean, if you've gone crazy or depressed, I'm just saying. That's something I need to know about. Okay? I mean, that affects me.
The operator of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant says a rubber mat has come loose in a tank of a new filtration system. This may be clogging the drain outlet. Tokyo Electric Power Company suspended a test run of the advanced liquid processing system on Friday after having resumed operation earlier in the day for the first time in 1.5 months. The system is designed to eliminate radioactive materials from the water that is accumulating at the plant. TEPCO had detected a decline in the flow of radioactive wastewater in a pipe that carries the water to a storage tank. The rubber mat is used to protect the floor of the tank when carrying out inspections with a ladder. The utility will check other tanks for similar problems before resuming the test run.
The operators of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant have resumed the operation of a system used to filter radioactive materials from water. It says human error caused the suspension last week. Workers at Tokyo Electric Power Company on Monday resumed their test run of the Advanced Liquid Processing System, or ALPS. The system is designed to eliminate radioactive materials from the water that is accumulating at the plant. They suspended operations on Friday. They had just resumed it for the first time in a month and a half. The workers detected a reduction in the flow of contaminated water in a pipe that sends water to a storage tank. TEPCO officials said a loose rubber mat clogged the drain. They say workers forgot to remove it after inspecting the inside of the tank. They had used the mat under a ladder during the inspection. The plant's officials have been plagued with problems using the ALPS. They found a water leak in June caused by corrosion. The operator of the Monju prototype reactor says it has completed safety checks it had failed to perform. Monju is a fast breeder reactor located on the Sea of Japan coast. The Japan Atomic Energy Agency told nuclear regulators they had finished checking 14,000 pieces of equipment at Monju. The operator had been blamed for more than 12,000 missed safety checks. In May, regulators ordered the suspension of preparations to restart the reactor. The Japan Atomic Energy Agency later discovered that it had failed to check another 2,000 pieces of equipment. The Monju reactor uses plutonium extracted from spent nuclear fuel to generate power. It was turned on in 1994, but a sodium coolant leak in 1995 resulted in a suspension of operations for more than 14 years. The reactor was restarted in May 2010 and shut down once again in October of that year after a fuel exchange device fell into the reactor. Last week, the Science Ministry decided to continue running Monju for at least another 6 years.
That you could build a thriving economy based on nuclear power and related businesses. That dream no longer can be a reality, and the faster you can come to grips with this new reality is better.
Japan aims to double its exports of food and farm produce to more than $10 billion by the year 2020. But a survey says less than 2% of the country's farmers currently export. The government-funded Japan Finance Corporation surveyed its client farmers and farming corporations in July. Around 7,000 responded. About a third said they were interested in exporting their produce, but only 1.7% said they were exporting. Another 1% said they planned to. Analysts say Japanese farmers lack know-how on export procedures and the ability to find retailers abroad. They also say production costs are higher than large-scale farms overseas.
In part one of this report, we looked at the danger of catastrophic failures, not only from nuclear reactors, but from spent fuel pools. Tonight, we're going to look at the end-of-life issues with nuclear power, storage, decommissioning of power plants.
This is the most delicate part of the whole operation, as it involves reopening the building without contaminating the area or staff on the outside. Not including the reactor building would generate 30,500 tons of waste in need of special treatment. But the figures remain questionable. The OECD cites 36,000 tons for the total shutdown of a power plant. Up until now, no site has been entirely dismantled. Depending on the method chosen, the process can take between 25 and 100 years.
Plants are just now starting to be shut down after about 40 years of operation, but others are having their licenses extended with little or no public examination. Sharon Harris, near Raleigh, North Carolina, has just had its license extended in spite of signs of aging and many troubles at that location. Between 1999 and 2003, there were 12 major problems requiring the shutdown of the plant. That's an average of once every 4 months, as opposed to the industry average of once every 18 months. 4.5 times the shutdowns as the industry average. In May of this year, the plant was shut down by the NRC for a couple of weeks when a quarter-inch crack was found inside the reactor pressure vessel head. In August, an explosion of electrical equipment caused the plant to be shut down. 1 week later, the same nuclear power plant was found to have a leaking valve that had released at least 10,000 gallons of radioactive water. But in spite of that history, Sharon Harris asked for and got a 20-year extension. That means that it has a license to run for 60 years. No nuclear power plant has done that.
We're dealing with really old reactors, and they have to be decommissioned.
If we were to follow the advice of the former chair of the NRC and shut down all the nuclear reactors, we would still have a legacy of dangerous materials from the decommissioned plants and spent fuel that threatens life on Earth. Catastrophic reactor failure during operation, radiation leaks during operation, catastrophic spent fuel fires, and pushing the storage of dangerous waste onto future generations for centuries or millennia. Yet, Obama wants to shut down all coal plants and go nuclear. In the next installment, we'll look at the global warming narrative and Obama's love affair with nuclear.
Authorities in Sendai City say they have finished cleaning up the inflammable debris from the earthquake and tsunami that hit northeastern Japan in March 2011. The task was completed ahead of schedule. Workers used heavy machinery to throw the last 50 tons of rubble into the flames in Wakabayashi Ward. The official in charge of the project presented letters of appreciation to the operators of a temporary incinerator. Officials initially planned to treat 210,000 tons of debris from Sendai and additional waste from neighboring Ishinomaki City before the end of the year. But the project was carried out more quickly than expected because an incinerator in Ishinomaki improved its disposal capacity. Moriya Endo is in charge of disaster waste disposal in Sendai. He says the city's residents have been waiting for this day for a long time.
The city of Sendai has made another important step in the recovery process.
The city government plans to complete its disposal projects by the end of the year.
What's the worst that could happen when you get out there and try? You know your life suddenly just ends in the blink of an eye. So what's the worst that could happen? You could try, you could fail. You gotta gamble, you gotta take chances. Oh, don't spend your whole life chasing that white whale. Don't spend your whole life. What's the worst that could happen? What's the very, very worst end up all alone out on the street, sleeping on a mattress, a complete unknown. What's the worst that could happen? You feel sad a couple days, you pick yourself up, bow your head and give thanks, and then you're on your way, and then you're on your way. What's the worst that could happen? Was the very, very worst. In order for the worst to happen, you gotta just do something first. So, what's the worst that could happen? When you get out there and try, you know your life could suddenly just end in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye. What's the worst that could happen? When you get out there and try, you know your life suddenly just end in the blink of an eye. So what's the worst that could happen? You could try, you could fail. You gotta gamble, you gotta take chances. Oh, don't spend your whole life chasing that white whale. Don't spend your whole life. What's the worst that could happen? What's the very, very worst? In order for the worst to happen, you gotta do something first. What's the worst that could happen? So you end up all alone out on the street, sleeping on a mattress, a complete unknown. What's the worst that could happen?
Survivors of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki still carry the scars 68 years later. Some people are suffering with illnesses they haven't had before. They're offering to help out researchers who are interested in what they're going through.
Doctors at Hiroshima University Hospital are seeing something new. A rising number of patients with a rare disease caused by radiation. Chiemi Takeshima is one of them. She was 4 years old when the atom bomb hit her hometown of Hiroshima. 4 months ago, a test revealed an abnormality in her blood. These are her blood cells. The purple spots are white blood cells that have become cancerous. Takeshima has myelodysplastic syndrome, or MDS. It is known as the second leukemia. There is no cure.
We believe this is because of atomic bomb radiation in Hiroshima.
Last time I came here, I had no reason to cry. Who could expect something like this?
Each year, Hiroshima University Hospital finds MDS in more than 10 bomb survivors. 68 years ago, Atom bomb radiation pierced people's cells. It penetrated the genes that are blueprints for the body. It's believed the damaged genes after decades cause cancer. However, no large-scale genetic data has been available to help scientists understand. One reason is what happened to many bomb victims after the war. The radiation study centers set up by the U.S. in Hiroshima and Nagasaki were not for treatment. Bomb victims who hoped their suffering would be eased found their consultations were only for the collection of data. They started to feel like guinea pigs. It took decades for this resentment to pass. Takako Yoshida died of MDS 5 years ago, 2 years after her diagnosis. Before she passed away, she offered her genes for medical research. She also decided to speak publicly about her experience.
The atomic bomb has been nesting in my body for 61 years. I was shocked when it came to the surface. The horror of nuclear weapons knows no end.
To honor Yoshida, a group in Nagasaki launched a drive to collect genes from bomb victims. On this day, a researcher at Nagasaki University meets with a bomb survivor who is due to have surgery for colon cancer.
I hope some of what is removed tomorrow can be used for research.
I'm happy to help in any way.
The next day, his genes were taken from his cancerous tissue and frozen. So far, around 400 bomb survivors have joined the program. The data brings scientists closer to grasping the genetic mutations common to atom bomb survivors.
I believe this shows that the bomb victims understand our research and want us to find out more about radiation's harmful effect on the human body.
Chiemi Takeshima is now donating her bone marrow cells for study. Like other bomb survivors, she is hoping this benefits others in the future.
An Iranian diplomat is getting ready for more talks with the international nuclear watchdog. He spoke with an International Atomic Energy Agency representative for the first time since President Rouhani took office last month, and he agreed to meet again next month for a more comprehensive discussion. Iran's envoy to the IAEA, Reza Najafi, met with the agency's Deputy Director General and Head of Safeguards, Herman Nakatz.
We had constructive discussions on the different issues, and we agreed to meet again on the 28th of October.
Analysts say the talks next month will pave the way for inspectors to visit Iran's nuclear facilities. IAEA staff have repeatedly asked for access to a military facility outside Tehran. They suspect the site plays a role in production of nuclear weapons.
A top U.S. official says North Korea should give up trying to get the six-party talks on its nuclear program restarted without any conditions. Daniel Russell is U.S. Assistant Secretary of State in charge of policies on East Asia. Russell says Pyongyang must take concrete steps toward denuclearization before the six-party talks can be resumed.
The focal point for all of our efforts must be on the end state that we seek to achieve, which is the complete and verifiable and peaceful denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, which for all practical purposes means of North Korea.
Earlier this week, former U.S. Special Representative for North Korean Policy Stephen Bosworth met with North Korean Vice Foreign Minister Lee Yong-ho in Berlin. Bosworth held the position until 2011. Russell said the North continued to demand at the meeting that it get support while refusing to give up its nuclear program.
Experts on a Japanese government panel will discuss changing the interpretation of the country's pacifist constitution. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe pledged that Japan will engage even more actively in UN security operations in a speech to the United Nations.
No single country can protect its peace and security only by its own efforts.
Under the current interpretation, the Constitution allows SDF personnel only the minimum use of weapons when they participate in UN peacekeeping missions. The Constitution is also interpreted as banning the SDF from joining multinational forces that launch military actions based on UN resolutions. Panel members say Japan should cooperate more closely with the international community, given changes in the global security situation. They will consider allowing the SDF to use weapons to support troops from other countries who come under attack in peacekeeping operations.
A health ministry panel is calling for a full investigation into the Japanese subsidiary of Swiss-based pharmaceutical giant Novartis. The panel says the company may have used false advertising to sell a drug that lowers blood pressure. The panel says the subsidiary of Novartis may have broken the law by using manipulated clinical data to promote the drug Diovan. An employee of Novartis Pharma was found to be involved in studies on the drug at several Japanese universities. The person has denied falsifying data, but the panel says the company introduced its employee and made generous donations to the universities. It concludes Novartis Pharma was probably involved in the studies. Diovan's annual sales in Japan total about $1 billion. The president of Novartis Pharma has offered a public apology. He says he feels responsible for creating an environment where data falsification could have occurred. He says his company will cooperate with the investigation.
Futuristic film, humans injected with a tiny chip holding the key to all of their private information.
But as you're about to see in our CBS 46 investigation, it's not fiction. In fact, it's being marketed in Georgia as life-saving technology. So why do some experts say it's potentially deadly? CBS 46's Kim Fedek investigates.
It's used in key cards, prepaid tolls, even checked luggage. It's called RFID technology, or radio frequency identification. Small chips that store information.
So here's the chip.
And now that same technology is literally available in the flesh, with chips injected right into people's arms.
It says it burns a little bit. That's about it.
Atlanta firefighter John Santola was injected with the chip about the size of a grain of rice. When scanned, the number on the chip is linked to a database with Santola's medical history.
I had to go help me in case of emergency.
Santola was chipped when Florida-based VeriChip Corporation set up a booth at an Atlanta firefighter conference. They market the chip primarily for safety reasons, storing medical information for first responders, Alzheimer's patients, even children.
And it is the only product that has been approved by the FDA for this specific purpose.
The FDA approved the use of chips in humans in 2004, but since then it's caused quite a bit of controversy with some consumer groups, concerned about privacy, even health concerns.
These are very powerful tools, especially if they fall in the hands of somebody with political ambitions.
One of the loudest voices of opposition is right here in the Boston area, a Harvard doctor and author of spy chips.
These technologies will not make us safer. I think they'll make us sitting ducks for Big Brother.
Dr. Catherine Albrecht also compiled 16 years of studies she says prove the chip can cause cancerous tumors.
It's clear as day that these tumors were not only malignant, but they metastasized, they spread to the lungs, the liver, the thymus, the brain.
These pictures show the tumors growing around the actual chip in the mice and rats.
Certainly the company, I mean, they've done, I think, a tremendous job of keeping that information under wraps for the last several years.
We sat down with the chief medical officer of Verichip and asked about the link to cancer in mice.
Yeah, I am not aware. I mean, I would have to take a look at what's out there right now. I'm not aware of any issues at this point.
But weeks later, Verichip sent 26 pages of literature claiming the incidence of microchip-associated sarcoma in rodents is very low, and claims the mice in at least one of those studies were genetically engineered to be tumor-prone.
No doubt in your mind that this is safe for us medically.
Yes, I mean, from everything that I've seen, it's very superficial. It's been in the animals for 20-plus years.
John Cintola won't need to worry about the cancer debate. His chip fell out after 2 days.
Would you get it again?
I would not get it again.
To me, this is the future of medicine.
But how far in the future? Well, Verichip advertises the technology in use at 8 Atlanta area medical facilities, including Crawford Long Hospital, Emory University, and DeKalb Medical Center. But our investigation found that none of these centers are actually using microchip technology. For full copies of studies done on microchips and humans, log on to CBS46.com. I'm Kim Fettig, CBS 46 Investigates.
To hit the highways into D.C. That's right. The truckers to shut down America. Now don't be getting your feathers in a ruffle. Let me explain. The American people are sick and tired of the corruption that is destroying America. Therefore, the truckers are declaring a general strike on the weekend of October 11th through 13th, 2013. That's October 11th through the 13th. Truckers, the drivers will not haul no freight. Not at all. But they are rolling into D.C. Americans can strike in solidarity with the truck drivers. Yes, you can. That's right. You can strike right along with those truck drivers. Don't have to have a big rig. All you have to do is set yourselves up by planning ahead of time. Make like you're taking a 3-day vacation, good buddies. Maybe you're going camping, fishing, hiking. Anyway, just park yourselves like a big rig. Put on the brakes. Do not go to work. I repeat, do not go to work. Do not shop. Don't do anything that funds the government or the big corporations. Just kick it. Don't do a thing. Send the message that the big rigs are sending to D.C. It's real simple, people. Real simple. Without us, without we the people, and without the big rigs rolling, well, D.C., you ain't got nothing. Now get on your cameras. Get this message out. The American people can join the big rigs in solidarity by just parking. Pull those brakes on. We'll catch you guys later.